The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Talking politics with Russell Norman.
Co-leader of the Greens, Russell Norman. Good morning to you, Russell.
Morning, Wammo.
All right, now, post-earthquake, how the heck is New Zealand going to pay for this huge disaster?
Well, there's three basic options. We can borrow more. We're already borrowing a lot. We can borrow more. There's probably more scope for it, though it is pretty limited. We can cut spending in other areas, or we can increase government revenues through the use of a temporary small earthquake levy, or a combination of those three. But there are three basic options. The Greens have been putting forward the option of a small temporary levy. The reason being that we don't think it's a good idea to increase debt. We've already got very high levels of debt when you look at private and public combined. If you cut spending at the moment, the effect will be quite negative on the economy and particularly on people if you're cutting spending programs. So, a small levy would have a pretty small effect on most people.
What would the levy go on?
So one way to do it is to have a levy on incomes. So we've just had big income tax cuts. So one option is you put a temporary levy on and say 1% levy on income between $48,000 and $70,000 and a 2% levy on income above $70,000. So the effect of that would be if you're earning $70,000, you pay an extra $4 a week. If you're earning $100,000, you pay an extra $15 a week.
Any idea what the sums would be, what that would add up to?
That would raise around $500 million a year, and that then you could use that as the basis of funding an income stream to pay for the rebuild.
But don't we need $16 billion?
Well, we've probably got somewhere in the order of maybe $15 billion covered. It's a bit unclear at this stage, to be honest. So if we need to come up with maybe at this stage an extra $5 billion, so that if you had 10 years at $500 million a year, or you could have 5 years at $1 billion a year if you doubled the levy. It's just a matter of creating an income stream so that we can afford the rebuild, and everyone in Christchurch has got certainty about that.
There is some thought that some big major infrastructure projects might be put on the back burner or put on hold indefinitely as well. One of those being the Auckland City rail loop.
Yeah, there's been some discussion about whether some other capital spending projects can be delayed, and there's a certain logic to that. However, putting a delay on the Auckland rail loop I don't think is a wise idea. The reason is that if Auckland chokes on congestion, it certainly won't help in the rebuild of Christchurch. So, other projects that have very marginal benefits, such as the Holiday Highway, there's a strong argument there, given that they have marginal economic benefits and marginal traffic congestion benefits. But Auckland has a congestion problem. If we want Auckland to work so that we can fund the rebuild of Christchurch, then actually we need to deal with that congestion problem.
I'm guessing you think it'd be a no-brainer to put on hold indefinitely the Holiday Highway, the Puhoi Highway north of Auckland.
Well, in this debate, we've tried to put up options as non-political as possible, which is why, the temporary small earthquake levy, rather than say, look, let's just reverse the tax cuts, what we've said is actually let's have a temporary levy to try to find some common ground rather than, effectively using the earthquake to make the political argument. So obviously we've never supported the Puhoi to Wellsford Highway as it's currently structured. But we've tried to focus on solutions that are as non-political as we can make them, like the levy. But that's where we put our emphasis.
There's some thoughts the government could be political in this by not ruling out cuts to interest-free loans for students and also working for families.
Yeah, the danger of these kind of situations is that there'll be, there's a lot of hard right within National, and obviously ACT is by definition hard right. And those people look to use these kind of disasters and emergencies as an opportunity to push their agenda. I hope the government doesn't succumb to that kind of politicisation of the earthquake. But we're yet to see.
Meanwhile, the oil man has come knocking, and it's probably unfortunate timing. But yeah, the price has shot up to a 2-year high. Not for Christchurch just yet, which is quite an amazing and good decision there by the oil companies. But $2.07, I think it is now for 91 octane, and that's only going to go up from here, don't you think, Russell?
This is the world of the 21st century. Oil prices and energy prices will only go up. So we need to factor that into our thinking. Obviously the Greens have been banging on about this for a long time, but what it means is that our transport planning needs to take into account the fact that oil will never be cheap again. And so we need modes of transport that aren't highly dependent on large amounts of oil. And obviously the CBD rail loop is a key part of that. It's not the only part of it, but it's one part of it.
Russell Norman, co-leader of the Greens, thanks very much for your time on the show this morning.
All right, cheers. Thanks very much.
Cheers. Here's Miriam Clancy. This is a track called Life Extraordinary. Ready, Wammo Breakfast. Into the Russell Hour now, so that means Mr. Brown a little bit later on. Also Kiwi Entertainment Guide. It's Kiwi.